Fam, I swear, every single time I sit down to record, the birds are always going nuts, which I feel like is a sign for someone, whoever's watching this. But I wanted to sit down and have a little convo about a word that I just learned about, but also knew about already somehow. You guys ever have that? Like, maybe a word or an experience or something, you're like, I know that, but I don't know how I know that. But anyways, that could also be for someone who's spiritually advanced, if you will. Like, you just know without knowing like where it came from. Anyways, the word that I heard was kenosis, which I heard from another creator that I follow. And I'm like, why does that sound like another? And like I kept thinking of like kinetic. And anyways, kenosis is the being of being self-empty, if you will, meaning that source can purely work through you without any distortion, without any tie to anything, any obstructions. The freaking birds, man. Like, and it really hit me because she was talking about how there's the void space and there's kenosis. And what I find so interesting about this is I feel like there's a lot of people who are in the void space right now. My friend and I have been talking about this pretty regularly lately. It's just like, it feels empty in a way. It doesn't feel like anything's happening, but simultaneously you know that everything's happening. And the void space is what happens before things, like, outside of form, if you will. Hopefully I got that right. Anyways, the void comes before kenosis, right? And so a lot of times you are in the void space where you're like, just kind of like floating off in the ethers. But then you get to a point where you can sense everything around you. And there's infinite possibilities, but you're not necessarily grabbing a hold of any of those possibilities, right? Kenosis is really just being detached from everything, being in like this neutral state where you just allow. And it's funny because I feel like it gave words to an experience that I've been having without trying to logic it or anything. These birds are going nuts. This happens all the time, but like especially right now. And what's so interesting is that I have felt like I've been in this void space. My dreams have been super fucking vivid, so that might be a sign for someone. Like, you might just wake up and you're like, I'm so fucking tired, but it's because your nervous system is actually rewiring and detoxing and doing so much in your sleep that you wake up and you're like, ugh, like feeling like you have an energetic hangover. That's the best way I can describe it. So if that's been you recently, just know that you're not alone. It's all happening for a reason. But I feel like I've been saying I'm in the void, but every single time I say that, it's like, it doesn't exactly feel like the void. Like, it feels different. The space, this time feels different. And she went on to talk about presence, and that's something that I have talked about a lot on here recently, and just in general, like, being present is the name of the motherfucking game. Like, we have so much that pulls us out of our present experience of being in our body, of all the things, right? And you may or may not be someone who numbs or has numbed in the past. I know I was a stony baloney for like years. And I numbed and numbed and numbed because I didn't want to be here. And I feel like I've finally gotten to the place where I'm enjoying so much of being here. And it's funny because every single time I talk about this, I'm reminded of my friend Jessie. Shout out if you're watching this, Jessie. I appreciate you and our connection. But I remember we were having this conversation end of last summer, and she was appreciative of how I am like a go between worlds, right? Like I'm very, very spiritual, but I'm here, but I'm more so spiritual, right? So I'm like talking about all the spiritual stuff, and she's like, I came here to be here. Like I am grounded here. And it really got me thinking, because I wasn't at a place where I was grounded at that point. Like I felt like thought I was grounded. I was not grounded. And I think that's something that a lot of us get stuck on this spiritual path, is not being grounded, because it's easier to be playing up in the ethers. It's easier to be in the spiritual. It's easier to be in the 5D and all these things. But really, we came here for the human experience. I don't know what's going on with my eye today. What am I not seeing? Right eye itchiness could be for someone. Anyways. Also left shoulder pain. Like, that's coming up again. So it's interesting, like the play between feminine and masculine. Anyways. There's a lot here. My point is that a lot of us want to escape being here in the present. We want to escape being grounded here in the physical. And really, that's the whole purpose of why we came here to Earth. I literally just got done saying at sunset yesterday, like, how grateful I am to be alive and how cool it is that we get to live in this time. And some people would be like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, you know what's going on in the world? And I'm like, yeah, kind of, sort of. I also, like, it's not in my... That is a reality I acknowledge people are experiencing, but that is not my reality. Because I'm so present here that all of that stuff going on, I can acknowledge it, but I don't have to be in it. Where your attention goes, energy flows. Just remember that. And so this whole point of being present and kenosis, and just, I have been in this presence of self recently, and I find myself just sitting on this porch swing, just staring off into the abyss, and I go to grab for my phone or my Kindle or something to do, something tangible, right? And then I'm like, why am I doing that? Why am I filling space? What if that space is just meant to be empty? What if I am just meant to sit here? What if I am just meant to be? Why am I constantly trying to get out of that space? And I've finally gotten to a point where I'm like, I don't want to escape the present moment, because so much happens in the present moment. And when you can get to a space where you can just allow source to work through you, like something that this creator said was that, let me see if I can remember it correctly. When you are an empty vessel, source sees that and is like, oh, this is an empty vessel. We can send a divine experience or person or chance meeting or whatever in for this person. And when you get to a point of being that empty, that like you are not attached to anything, it is such a wild place to be. Because you're like, is anything really happening? Like, not that I'm so, like, I'm not attached to it by any means. And it almost feels like I should be doing something. And then I remind myself, like, there's nothing to do, right? And the more that we sit in that, like, we then take aligned action. There's a construction vehicle that just passed by. That feels significant. I'm hearing out with the old and with the new. Yeah. Out with the old and with the new. Because the more that we are present, the more that our experiences matter to us, right? Because you're so in the moment that like nothing can pass you by. These fucking birds, man. And that empty feeling can feel a little unnerving at first. But it's just purely from presence. And trust me, I know all too well what the void space feels like. And it's funny because recently I have felt like yeah, this is the void, but it feels different, right? Like, if you've been in the void, you know what the void feels like. And I have continuously been in the void on repeat over the last year or two. And every single time I come back to it, I'm like, man, this feels really familiar. This time feels different. And that's when I realized, like, this video popped up, right? Mind you, I don't watch videos like this all the time anymore. But once in a while, there's one that jumps out at me and I'm like, there's a reason why I need to watch that. And it was giving me clarity on, like, this isn't just the void anymore. This is the embodiment after the void, right? This is the application of it all. And getting to be empty. Which, if you've been someone who's been attached to so many things. Hi, friend. Bird just came flying like 10 feet in front of me. That's wild. I love birds. I also just love being outside. Like, people who don't go outside, I'm just like, how do you live? How do you not go be in Mother Nature? Like, how do you just, anyways. So, with all that being said, if you found yourself in the void, just know that it will pass. But the more that you can be there and not be attached to anything, not be seeking anything, then you move into kenosis, right? And that's the state with which I feel like I've moved into, is this being present. And it's funny, I'm like right on the teetering edge of it, right? Because I want to know what's next, but I also trust so deeply that everything is working out, even when I can't see it. And that has been the path that I've been paving for the last year. And I know there's a purpose to it, right? I know that my story is meant to help others in a way, for whoever's watching this. And just know that the void doesn't last forever. Like, I feel like, you know, the void happens when we're shedding masks and identities that no longer serve us. And then we get to this space where it's like, I'm not attached to any of that anymore, but I'm also not seeking anything outside of me. I'm just like in this neutral space where I can feel all the things, but I don't need to grasp onto any of them. I don't have to, I always think about the water slide, right? When you're sitting at the top of a water slide and you have your feet up, right? You're like grasping on for dear life because you're like, I don't want to go down this big, scary water slide. But then the moment you pick your feet up and the water wishes you away and takes you to a magical, beautiful place, whatever that is, like, you get to enjoy the actual ride. You get to enjoy the water slide. That's where the freedom and the joy come from. And if you're in the void, that's okay too. There's nothing wrong with the void. The void teaches us to detach. The void teaches us that we don't need to seek anything outside of us. The void allows us to shed. The void allows us to be in the nothingness. And when we have nothing to attach to, who are we? But a star floating on a rock in the middle of space. In a human meat suit, nonetheless. I've found myself more in the past month asking to my friend, to other people, to anybody, if you don't have X, Y, and Z, if you didn't have X, Y, and Z, who would you be? Has been my lesson over the last couple of years, right? In the shedding of old identities. Like, if I'm not a nurse, who am I? If I am not a shamanic practitioner, if I am not a label that I have placed on myself, who am I? What are we? If we don't have the physical, outward, material possessions, who are we? If we don't have the money that we think that we're supposed to have, who are we? Questions I've been sitting with a lot. Who am I without all of the bullshit? And it's not bullshit, right? I get that they're tools, they're amazing things that we're provided with. But I have been stripped down to letting go of everything to get to this place of who am I without all that? Whether I have $20 in my bank account or $100 in my bank account or $1,000 in my bank account doesn't change who I am. Doesn't change how I show up in the world. Working as a nurse or not working as a nurse, right? Does that change who I am on a singular level? Being a nurse feels like I get put in a box a little bit, but that's neither here nor there. I still get to be me, with or without it. With or without money, with or without all the things, right? And that's what I've had to learn over this last year, is how to be without those things. It's freeing ourselves, freeing our soul of all of those attachments, because those attachments actually weigh us down. When you can find home inside you, because you are just a soul that has dropped down from source, the big source, right? We're all one. We're all just little droplets off of source. And when you detach from everything being personal and realize that it's not personal, then you become more of who you truly are and who you came here to be, because we all came here with an exact blueprint, story, whatever you want to call it, that we are meant to live, and gifts that we are meant to offer the world. We all have our own secret sauce to provide. And when you can be empty of all the things, right? And just tend to your own garden and do it for you at the end of the day, and know that the more that you nurture yourself, the more it will just ripple out and it will find the people that it is meant to, because technically you're already connected to everyone that you're meant to be connected to in this life, whether they've showed up in your physical reality or not, and they are just mirrors and projections of you. Something else that's been coming up recently is like, I haven't had many people in my reality recently. And that's been a really interesting place to be, as someone who used to have like 20 plus people she was texting all the time, all over the world. And now looking back at that, I needed all of those mirrors at that point, but I wasn't seeing it from that lens, from that perspective. And now that I don't have all of these mirrors, it's allowed me to pull all of my energy back into myself, which has allowed this empty feeling. It's like walking into a dark room and not having anything, like just literal space all around. There's hummingbirds going crazy in front of me. And just knowing that that space is actually you. And that it's all happening for a reason. And that when we're constantly trying to grasp on or attach to something outside of us, it is just a mirror of what is going on internally. That we don't actually need that thing. It might be nice to have it, but we don't need it. And when we can just let that go, we have so much freedom at our fingertips. It allows Source to pour so much in through us. And that's where the beautiful, magical experiences come from. I was reflecting last night on how many people have said, you know, I wish I could live the life that you've lived. And I'm like, be careful what you wish for, because you don't know, you don't have all the details. But also, what I say in response to that is like, you can do all the things that I have done. You might have to sacrifice some things. You might have to let go of a way of being that you thought you needed. but you will gain so much in the process. This last year hasn't looked like sunshines and rainbows to me. I mean, it hasn't, right? I had a lot of downhill moments, a lot of dippy dip moments, but at the same time, I look back and I'm like, holy shit, I experienced so much fucking beauty in the last year. How lucky am I to have experienced that much beauty? So crazy. It just depends on what you give your energy to and what you define as beauty and what you define as a beautiful experience. And knowing that those dip moments, right? It's felt very wavy recently. And those wavy moments, those dips, right? Brings me back to the present, brings me back to self-awareness, brings me back to right here, right now. And I'm like, holy shit, I feel like I'm at the bottom of the fucking ocean. And then I come back up and I'm like, holy shit, I'm bobbing on the water again. And when it goes deep, it's like, holy shit, like this used to be where I lived. And now that I'm coming back up for air, it's like, holy fuck, there is so much beauty on the surface. There's also so much beauty underneath. And knowing that those dips, those down low moments, when it feels like there's a brick on your feet dragging you to the bottom of the ocean, it's there for a reason, because it's just stirring up the rest of the muck that needs to be cleared. How cool is it that we get to do that? And to not rush the process, to just allow it to be in such a state of allowance that manifestation really goes out the window, because you realize that everything that you are meant to have and that you desire in this life is already yours. You're just taking the breadcrumbs down the yellow brick road to get there. Burp confirmation. Holy. So enjoy the walk. Don't rush it. Know that everything's happening for a reason. The more that you can slow down and just be in the present moment, so much beauty happens. So much beauty. You just have to allow it. 22. There's a lot here. Whew, that was a lot more than I was intending for, but like, holy, I didn't know that was gonna, I always so like, I get so excited when I do these. Like, I never know what's gonna pour out. Like, I go in with like one thing and then just like, whoa. There's so much here. That's like the best part of all of it. All right, fam. Thanks for being here. I appreciate each and every one of you, whoever watches this. And I hope you have a magical rest of your day. I'll see you on the next one. Love you.